alive!
Look, Catherine, there are little bubbles of gas exploding in this gooey glob of disgusting water and flour.
Do I smell vinegar?
What you girls smell is the pungent brew of bacteria and yeast. These microbes eat the sugar that's in here in the flour, right, and they convert it into carbon dioxide gas. And that's what's going to make the sourdough bread have bubbles in it and actually rise up.
That sounds magical. That sounds mysterious. That sounds delicious. We're the MG Kids, here today on the campus of Geneva College,
With our very special guest, chemistry professor and sourdough chef, Dr. Rodney Austin.
Welcome, girls. You were right. There is a lot of awe and mystery and all sorts of things that come from this, all right? Because we have this and it actually becomes bread. And this starter is actually from right here in Beaver Falls. I actually made it myself. And some starters are very famous, though. I made this myself, but other ones are very famous.
One is called Lazarus.
That's right.
My favorite is Clint Eastwood.
That's right. So each sourdough is unique with different flavors and aromas, and there's a whole ecosystem you can think of it, bacteria and yeast, and we're still trying to understand those. Just like in our stomachs and our bodies, there are actually different types of yeast and bacteria from each one of us. Each particular sourdough starter has its own amount of types of things, and they give its own flavor and aromas. Here's how you actually make a starter for sourdough. It's actually pretty easy. So what you have is initially you mix some flour and water and even a little bit of pineapple juice, because that makes it a little bit acidic. And you put it in that cup and you let it set for this. We're not going to put it in a cup. Let's just say it sets. We'll use this as our cup, right? You let it set, and then the bacteria and the yeast grow, and they produce those bubbles and that smell. What do you guys think of the smell? Yeah. You guys aren't chemists yet, but it gives that smell, right? So that means something's going on because it's converting the sugar and all the other carbohydrates into something else, all right? So different compounds. And so then you come back the next day, and what you would do is you could just take a little bit of the starter, you would throw this away, and you would get some more flour and water, and you mix it together, and you put it back, and you let it set there for another day. And so what that allows it to do is just a little bit of bacteria and yeast can grow in the new flour and water, and they can keep growing up. And then you've got to repeat that about 10 days. So every day you got to come back, take out just a little bit of the starter, put in more flour and water, and you stir it up, and you come back the next day. And after about 10 days, you have a nice little ecosystem of various bacteria and yeast. Now, where do you think the original yeast came from? Why did I just mix flour and water? That's right, the flour, it's actually specifically in the flour, yeah. So they're just naturally yeast and bacteria that are in the flour. Now, they won't hurt you, right? So these are all bacteria that do all sorts of things like cottage cheese, and they call it, various bacteria make cottage cheese and other things. But just in the flour naturally, there's some yeast and bacteria. So that's why you mix it with water, and you put in a little pineapple juice, and mix them all together, and basically the flour is the food, and the bacteria can grow in the water, and the acid from the pineapple juice helps it grow a little bit, and then you just keep on going after that. So that's actually how I made mine, right here. I just went to the store and got some King Arthur or whole wheat flour and started it that way. It took me about 10 days, and I've had it since the beginning of December, so mine's not very old. Some of them last for decades. There's a woman I was watching on YouTube, and hers started in 2009. Other people have had them for 40 years. They just keep every week or every day, they actually keep updating them with flour and water, and they just keep them growing.
Why sourdough?
Well, I can give you at least 3 reasons. Number one, sourdough lasts longer. It lasts longer than regular bread if it's just sitting on a shelf. Part of that has to do with the fact that the bacteria and the yeast, they actually produce acids, particularly lactic acid, which actually helps to kill bacteria. And they also produce some antibiotics, which actually keep bacteria out. So that's why the bread doesn't spoil. So that's number one. Number 2, it actually helps with digestion. And they think those same bacteria that are growing in here, which end up in the bread, they actually help to break down some of the big molecules in bread, and so it makes it easier on our bellies to actually absorb it and break it down. And also breaks down something, various proteins that are in the body. And then number 3, it generally tastes better, or at least some people think that. All right. Some people like sort of the acid taste of their bread, so they really like it. Particularly people in San Francisco, United States, they really like to make it. Do you guys think you like acids and bases to eat, drink, and eat?
Probably not.
Here are a couple of things that maybe actually taste acid and basic. So one of them, if you've ever had vinegar, ever tasted vinegar in something?
Yes.
Yeah, it sort of has a pungent odor, but it's also a little bit acidic. Now, there aren't too many bases that we eat, but one of them sometimes is tonic water. Sometimes this will go into like a punch or something along those lines. And this actually has a bitter taste to it. All right, so this one sort of tastes bitter, and acids like vinegar taste sour. Now, you probably like them more than you know, because that's what makes Sour Patch Kids so sour. So Sour Patch Kids, they actually contain something known as citric acid. That's a natural acid that's in oranges and tomatoes and lots of other things. And it gives it a little bit of a sour taste. That's why sometimes pop and coffee or tea if your mom drink that. So, and that's the same acid. And citric acid is very similar to the lactic acid that's in bread that these bacteria make to help keep the pH down. And that tends to, most bacteria, most things that grow, they don't like that acidic environment. So that's one of the reasons sourdough works so well. And that's why a lot of people that were moving west in the United States, like in San Francisco, they kept sourdough because they can bake it and it would keep for a couple of days while they were traveling on a horseback or in their carriages.
Sourdough. It's done baking. Check out all the air holes. Wow, it's a lot sweeter than I expected.
Thank you for watching our episode on the MG Kids. And remember to play with your food.